Somebody call the doctor because bad medicine is back. That's the answer. This is the Appleton Oak. I'm Mason Quinn. Guys, tonight we are taking a look at some big news that happened in the Potterverse, and that is about the possibility of a Harry Potter TV show, which is going to reboot the series, coming to a streaming service or cable somewhere near you, apparently.
So the news just kind of dropped with the article that we're reading 3 days ago, courtesy of Screen Rant.
So the title of the article is Harry Potter TV show remaking original books is very close to happening. A Harry Potter TV show reboot based on the answer scrolling down, so I can't read it. A Harry Potter TV show reboot based on the original book series is nearing a deal with the series set to adapt each book into a full season.
See, now that's interesting. They're not going to do like a Rings of Power type thing where they take the source material and then loosely base another story on it. This is going to be actually a full reboot of each book, which is going to be just going to give us massive detail. Okay, I know you talked a lot about a lot of the things that the movies were missing compared to the books when you were going through them.
A TV reboot of Harry Potter is nearing a deal with each season of the planned show tackling a book from the original series. The Harry Potter franchise is acclaimed for its film adaptations of J.K. Rowling's original novel series, which saw Daniel Radcliffe in the titular role alongside Rupert Grint as Ron Weasley and Emma Watson as Hermione Granger. The film adaptations garnered $7.7 billion at the worldwide box office across, please don't scroll down when I'm reading, across 8 installments.
You didn't know 8 installments?
That was the
one word.
I'm reading as we're going. All right. Now, Bloomberg
Big muscles,
reports
small brain.
that Harry Potter TV show based on Rowling's original book series is nearing a deal at Warner Bros. The source says it would be for both cable and streaming, with the planned series just set to be a major part of Warner Bros. New streaming strategy. However, the deal is not yet completed, with company CEO David Zaslav and HBO CEO Casey Bloys talking with Rowling about the series debuting on HBO and being a foundation for Warner Bros. New Max streaming services. Okay, that's a mouthful. Huge news. Let's talk about this for a little bit before we keep going on.
The world of Harry Potter can easily anchor any streaming service on its own. It's got some of the most loyal fans in the world of any franchise.
There's
a ton of material that you can dive into. I just hope they do it right, and I'm sure they're just figuring out the details. Guys, this is huge. You're talking about a series based on each book. I mean, the amount of material that's going to be there is just going to be incredible. I can't wait for it.
Well, the thing is, what's good about it being a season for each book, everything from the pages onto screen, because you're able to go off on all the little maybe side adventures or whatever throughout each book. I mean, you listen to it, so there's a lot more that's there than what we saw on screen. So you can probably do that each season with each episode of the season, because I'm assuming it's going to be 6 to 8 episodes per season.
Is there a risk of redoing what is just one of the most revered franchises, both books and movies, ever made? I mean, Mason Quinn and I wouldn't even recommend watching it on our channel because the show sucked.
Well, no, you should definitely watch it on our channel, and you can enjoy the ride with us.
Definitely watch it.
So, the Rings of Power took an iconic story, but the difference with Rings of Power is they took, from what I understand from my brother, a bunch of Tolkien books over 3,000 years, combined it into this. Of course, they made it very clear that they're going to be making each book into a season, but again, everybody loves the Potter movies, and of course the characters. Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter. Yep. Emma Watson is Hermione Granger. Do you run the risk of just you setting yourself up for a lose-lose situation where you're not going to make fans happy? It's not Harry Potter cast as we know it, and the story might not be as good as the movie.
So I get you say that about Daniel Radcliffe is Harry Potter. Who is Batman? Is it Michael Keaton? Is it Adam West, who was the first? Is it Christian Bale? Is it Big Rob?
That's why we have.
Is it Ben Affleck?
Here.
Yep.
Wow.
But I get what you're saying. But the reason why I would say that I kind of agree with you there is it hasn't been that long since the Harry Potter movies.
It's been 8 movies,
and it was 8 movies, and the last one came out 2010 and 11 were the two-parter. So it's only been a dozen years. So that's where I'm thinking is it too soon?
Yeah, and I think you always run the risk when you cast different characters for such iconic roles. Look, I mean, it's an uphill challenge. They get it every decade or so when they have to cast a new James Bond or, whatever iconic franchise that they might be redoing, whether it's, something in the DC universe or Marvel. That's always going to be a question they run up against. But with Harry Potter, I think it's a little bit different. But I do think that people will be so happy just to have the content.
Now let's talk casting here for a minute, because the book, an interesting thing about the book is it lays out what the characters should look like. Now the cover of all the books, the drawing that we have of Harry Potter, I mean, it looks like Daniel Radcliffe. Now, as you get into the books, as I've talked about in some of our lives, our good friend I shouldn't say our good friend, we admire him very much, over at Movie Flame, who does a great, we'd like to be friends. Movie Flame, who does an incredible
His request
job
is still out there. He's waiting.
come on, buddy. Does incredible Potter content. If you haven't seen his, he actually does differences between the books and the movies. And noticeably, there are a lot of visual differences between the characters. Ron Weasley is supposed to be a little bit taller and thinner. Ron Weasley's character, as it's laid out in the books, is more like what his brothers are in the movie. There's a couple different things. I believe Dudley was supposed to be a blonde. So there's a handful of different. Dudley. Snape was supposed to be significantly younger than Alan Rickman was. So I'm wondering if they're going to try to cast people who look similar to the way the original cast did, or if they're going to go more towards the book. I mean, would you like to see
Snape better be Adam Driver then?
Would you like to see kind of carbon copies of the characters, or would you like to see some subtle differences?
I think for it to stand on its own, look, I'm not saying you completely change the cast around. I think as long as you have them close to what the book is, I think most fans would generally be happy with that. And just stay true to the source material. I think that's very important for fans of it. So I mean, look, they know that they got a huge bag of money sitting on their hands if they do this right. Hopefully they're not gonna screw it up. I mean, HBO has been batting 1,000 on like every series they do, so I think it'll be fine.
I mean, yeah, they just granted it was a great game in Last of Us and brought it to life on HBO Max, and obviously we all loved it. I wasn't there for the reviews, but I did watch it. I did play the game, and these guys just they loved it. They gave it a 5 out of 5. So and
there was some differences with the casting on Last of Us, so that's a good point. And people overall didn't seem to mind.
Yeah, they kind of modernized it a little bit, I would think, but I'm wondering, how do you go about this? Would you say that's a very interesting question, to have it more closer to the book this time around, or just go nuts and just do whatever the directors and casting
I think
crew.
You have to look.
I don't want to do that.
My biggest thing here is, if it was just a movie, right? More Harry Potter content has been discussed by Warner Bros. Recently, with CFO Gunnar Weidenfels teasing an expansive Wizarding World yet to come. This has included director Chris Columbus expressing interest in a film adaptation of the 2016 Harry Potter and the Cursed Child play, which we've had a lot of people in the comments saying mixed reviews. Yep. However, if the latest report is to be believed, it appears Warner Bros. Wants to restart Harry Potter's time on screen from the very beginning, at least in the world of TV. A Harry Potter reboot makes sense at this time, given that the original film series ended in 2011,
with 11,
marking 12 years since Harry and his friends have appeared in some form of live-action adaptation. Readapting the series for television will allow the Wizarding World to be more thoroughly explored as well, perhaps even beyond the bounds of Rowling's pages. The series would have the privilege of introducing a new generation of viewers to Harry Potter, who can then grow up with the franchise as original readers and viewers did.
That's
and
key.
That last sentence is key. Yep. How many times did we talk about going through the movies, how neat it would have been to be growing up with them? Yeah. And this just look, it's one thing parents can always introduce the movies to their children, but it's not the same, because look what we did. We watched one movie a week later, and those kids grew up before our eyes in the course of 2 months. It wasn't like we were growing up with them. If you cast another group of 10 to 12-year-olds, the kids who start watching it now are going to grow up with them over the course of the next 7. I don't know if they're going to split the books at all, but at least 7 seasons. I mean, that's a neat opportunity for kids.
No, and I think that the time is really right now to come out with a series that can attract not only younger viewers but older as well, because I think, you know, a show like Stranger Things did an amazing job of being able to grab this massive demographic of people from, you know, 12 to 99 years old essentially. And I think the Harry Potter series has that ability to do that as well. What I would like to see is our friends over at Screen Rant do a pitch meeting for this. Be like, hey, do you like money? Yeah, I like money. I like money. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Harry Potter, sold.
What about Dumbledore? Remember, is that next Dumbledore even going to happen?
Yeah, you know, I think
so. You're going to shelve that, but for the series. So that's my little.
You know, that's a great point that you bring up. You know, the Fantastic Beasts movies we were supposed to get,
and we liked the first three. We supposed to get what?
We were supposed to get two more movies, from what I understand. I have my concerns about, you know, taking something as revered as the movies and turning it into a TV show. You know, let's say we do, as Answer had said, 6 to 8 episodes, maybe, you know, 45 minutes to an hour each.
Because I mean that could be 6 to 8 hours of content, and it's I can't remember what it is. You can look it up what the conversion rate is supposed to be for pages to minutes on screen.
Yeah, well, you know, the movies were all, let's just say 3 hours each. Let's say you get 8 episodes or 6 episodes that are an hour. I mean, essentially you're doubling or maybe tripling the amount of screen time you're getting, which would allow you to really add in some more detail from the book. But here's the interesting thing, and this is another risk that we have to look at. They're talking about adding in some, you know, creative freedoms. Now, are the creative freedoms going to be we do things a little bit different than the movies, or is the creative freedom going to be like, we're going to veer off from the book?
Because Power style.
Look, so far the books that I've been through, there's been some subtle differences between, you know, the book and the movies, but for the most part they didn't change major things in the plot. You know, we saw some deleted scenes in the movies that were obviously huge to me. Malfoy passing the wand,
which didn't happen in the book, though.
Petunia Dudley, Petunia Dudley saying, "Hey, you didn't just lose a mom; I lost a sister." Yep. Some really heavy moments, and I didn't get that far in the audiobook.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Thanks.
Spoiler much.
Thanks, Answer. No, but yeah, I think you run the risk of
comments
if they're going to add stuff in wasn't in the original movies, fine. But if you're going to just completely get super creative with the books,
yeah, I mean, I think that all depends on how much or how attached to it and how involved J.K. is with it. Because at the end of the day, it's her creation. So, I mean, if I got to believe with how much, if they give her, what level of creative control do they give her where she can nix something if she doesn't like it, or if they get a team together and maybe she just has to approve certain things, you know, that could be interesting to see.
I'm just wondering if they're going to have a blonde Mark Paul Gosselaar as Draco Malfoy just because of the hairdo, because they got to find the perfect kid to be able to have that hairdo and be able to pull it off.
The one thing that I'm wondering, and it's only because Oak, you've brought it up a few times, is I'm wondering, will this series have a narrator that fills in a lot of the gaps that you talked about?
Yeah, that was. Thank you for bringing that up. So one of the things that really got me with the initial books is a lot of the narration about what was going on in Harry's head, what the characters were feeling, things that you can't put in a movie. I mean, you can try expressing it through facial expressions, emotion, tense music, things of that nature, but you can't like use that inner monologue that you get with a narrator.
Scrubs would be.
Can we get Morgan Freeman? Or maybe Daniel's turn. But yeah, so as Quinn had said, Rowling is going to have some input. There's going to be a team. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, final thought for me is I trust HBO to do stuff well because of, look, we have Westworld, we have Ballers, we have Sopranos, we have most
True
recently,
Detective.
Oh my God, True Detective, amazing. But most recently, The Last of Us, and for the people at HBO to take
Succession has been huge for them.
Video game,
White Lotus,
take a video game and turn it into the success that they had,
make it work.
If there was ever going to be a time for audiences to trust HBO with a project, it's going to be right now. Amazon, not as much right now. Game of Thrones, House of the Dragons was HBO. We just watched that.
Yeah.
Incredible. So,
great.
I mean, is it fair to say that there's trust right now in audiences with HBO?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of stole my thunder a little bit there, Oak, with just the fact that HBO was probably the first, I guess the first company, I'll say, to be able to successfully take a video game and turn it into something that everybody wanted to see, and they did that with The Last of Us. Their track record speaks for itself. You guys know everything HBO's done. I don't need to run through it here, but yeah, if anybody was going to make it work, it's HBO. And we've seen with shows like, The Walking Dead, or some of these shows that have had really long runs on television, that if the content is there and people are interested, just keep that machine going.
Well, the thing with The Last of Us is they had great source material. The video game was amazing. It was very well done. And so when they have great source material, they're only going to make it better. They're going to make it just as good, if not better, and that's what they did with Last of Us. They had a great blueprint, and then they were able to just expand on some little things, and add in the deleted scene the DLC pack, which was the whole episode of them in the mall. That it was a DLC. Not everybody had played that or had seen that, so this was their first chance to get it. So what I like is that they'll have a nice blueprint to start off with, and I think they'll just crush it on that.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this article, guys. If there is updates to anything going on, we will be here for it. You guys already know if this comes out, whether it be on HBO, whatever streaming services, if Warner Bros. Starts their own new streaming service or wherever it's at, we're going to be involved. We're normally not a news station, but we are certainly a
Diamond Dave, get that ticker on the bottom.
Loving channel, and any big Potter news that comes out between now and this series being launched, whether it be good, bad, otherwise, it's not happening. Hopefully that doesn't come out. We're going to be here for it. So answer.
All right. Once again, thanks to Screen Rant having the article for us to follow along with, which they also got via Bloomberg. So thank you guys very much. So for Appleton Oak, that's Mason Quinn. I'm, of course, the answer. Good night, pals.